All right, well, we are continuing on in this series talking about spiritual formation in the life of a pastor or a church staff member or somebody that's working toward that. And today we're going to talk about the aspect of spiritual formation that maybe is the least favorite for everyone, but absolutely crucial, and that is hardship. How does God use hardship to grow us spiritually? So what's the first thing you think we need to understand about this?
Well, the first thing is that, hardship really is part of God's purpose, and we like to avoid it, and we don't want to consider that, but both life and ministry involve hardship. That's just the fact of life, and we can't escape it, but God uses it in our lives. So for example, there's a number of great verses about this in the Bible, but one is in Romans chapter 5. I'll start in verse 3. We can rejoice also when we run into problems and trials, for we know that they help us develop endurance. And endurance develops strength of character, and character strengthens our confident hope of salvation. And this hope will not lead to disappointment, for we know how dearly God loves us, because He's given us the Holy Spirit to fill our hearts with His love. And so He's saying, we can rejoice in trials and hardships because God has an agenda. God's going to use those things in our lives to develop, He talks about endurance, to make us more mature, to bring about even hope in our lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one of those concepts that we've all probably preached many times, of rejoice in hardships and struggles, but man, that is hard to really embrace that in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's one of those things that we should actually be thankful to God that He allows hardships, because He says right there that that's how God is going to grow you through that. So I think that really gives us perspective not to scorn those things or try to run away from those things, but to really embrace them.
Yeah, and the thing is that that's true for every Christian. God is going to use hardships in the life of every Christian.
Yeah.
We teach people that. We help them to understand that. That includes us in ministry. But there are also some unique hardships that are part of ministry. Mm-hmm. Some things that people are going to treat you a certain way, or just things that kind of are a part of the package in ministry. So we need to kind of recognize that both of those things are going on.
Yeah. Yeah, so far from ministry sort of exempting you from those challenges, it can actually bring new ones in, again, that God can use for our benefit.
Definitely.
Yeah. So let's talk about kind of what's the first way that God can really use these hardships in our life?
Well, God can use hardships to help us to really take a closer look at ourselves. If you think about when things are going along great, oftentimes we don't really stop and think about life. It's, hey, we're just enjoying the ride, things are great. We don't become very reflective. I know in my life when I've been challenged with difficult things, that's when I've taken time to stop and really try to figure out what's going on. What is God trying to say to me about my life? What is He trying to reveal to me about who I am? How maybe I responded to that situation out of fear or out of pride, or there's some character issue that gets revealed in my life when things are tough that I don't really pay any attention to when things are going well.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's amazing how there's, like you just said, there's those opportunities that God gives us that you might never otherwise discover about yourself until you're really faced with the crucible there.
Right, and one of the challenges of ministry is we get caught up in the performance, because everybody's measuring us in terms of how many people are in the building and how good the sermon was. Nobody's measuring us in terms of what's going on in the depth of our heart that people really don't see. The only time the character really becomes on the table is when somebody really abuses it or really fall. And so hardships help me to get beyond that external what am I doing, to really stop and think about what am I becoming? Who am I really becoming in Christ?
Yeah, that's so good. And so hardships, like you're saying, really cause us to look internally and reflect on ourselves. But what's another thing they cause us to do?
Well, this is great. They really help us to stop and take a closer look at God, to draw toward Him. Because when things are tough, I have to decide, are the promises of God real and true? Is the character of God for real? I remember when my wife was diagnosed with cancer, I sat in the operating waiting room and thinking, hey, I guess I'm going to find out right now whether everything I've said about God is really real. And so it forces you, or it gives you an opportunity really to really reflect more on who God is and what He's like in your life.
And I think it really can open up your eyes too in some meaningful ways as you think about different aspects of God that kind of become, in living color in a moment like that, where you can really see the grace of God and the mercy of God, and then hopefully at times the power of God. And there's ways that you're never really going to be able to fully comprehend that unless it's through the context of a trial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're hard, but they're a blessing.
Yeah.
We'll grow in some ways that we might never otherwise grow.
So one of the things we've talked about a lot is how this sort of growth and formation that God wants to do in our life, it's not just something that happens purely solitarily. It happens in the context of community. So how does that play into this role as well?
Well, I think to be able to reflect more fully on what I'm learning about myself and what I'm learning about God, it helps to have feedback from other people. Who can see what I'm going through. I can ask some questions. I can unburden myself to others, and they can give me honest feedback about how I'm responding. And that might be the voice that says, hey, you know what, remember, God is faithful. Or the voice that says, you know what, I understand you're going through a tough time, but you haven't handled this very well. And so we really need that feedback from other people. We need to reflect on our own, but we also need a support system when we're going through hardship. Now that can be hard sometimes for pastors.
Yeah, talk about that, because I think that is especially true as you're walking through some of these experiences that might really kind of make you vulnerable. As a pastor, you're always wondering, who can I really talk to about this? Right. So how do you navigate that?
Well, I think one thing that helped me was to understand the difference between an ally and a confidant. And we're in every relationship as a pastor, we're trying to figure out which is which. An ally is someone who has the same interests that you do. Your interests line up and go in the same direction. So at any given moment, all the members of your board or on your staff or key leaders, they could be allies, because we all want to see that program happen, or we all want to reach our community or plant that church or whatever it might be. They can be our real allies, but they may not be able to be confidants all the time. A confidant is someone that I can unburden myself to, regardless of whether our interests line up or not. And the challenge is, in a church staff situation, is that the person on the board is also evaluating me for my job. And so it's hard to know, can I really tell them this thing I'm struggling with? Because they're going to fill out my annual evaluation. They may be an ally, but they may not be a confidant.
Yeah. I think that's a great point. And I think that's something you're always kind of calculating and thinking through as a pastor. And I think it's absolutely necessary that you have both.
You got to have both, yeah.
Yeah, and I think maybe one of the best things to do is to try to always have a confidant that might be outside your direct realm of influence. Pastors, another church, or part of your denomination, or even out of state. That can be really helpful to get somebody who's truly objective and that's not going to be doing your performance review.
Right. And it's great to have a confidant, maybe who's another pastor, because they understand the unique hardships that go with the job.
Yeah.
And so they can give you some feedback, but you don't have to worry about whether they're an ally or not.
Yeah. Well, this is great, and hopefully this helps you really think through as you encounter your own hardships, to embrace them and see what God wants to do through those in your life. So again, take some time here and talk about the questions below.